Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today, Temple Hayes, on Fire for Life podcast. Well, many of you that have been with me for a number of years know that my go-to person when I want to know things of a deeper message related to my soul and my path and my journey, or things that are going on around me, there's one person that I believe and reach out to, and that's Mary Madeiras. Mary, back by popular demand, with Storm Helene, Milton, other disasters that have been going on throughout our country, and this political energy, if you're in the States, it's good to have a great person that you believe in that is a channel of the Akashic Records that they can put things in perspective. So, Mary, thank you for saying yes. And thank you for being on our show today because it's so timely to have you.
Temple, thank you so much. Very important time, I agree, for the work that we're all doing. Yes.
Hmm.
So I want to just let everyone know, let you know and everyone know that the timeliness of this and our having this conversation is really impactful, can be impactful for a lot of people, because I received from the divine realm a message that I live in the Ashville area, and I was here for Hurricane Helene, and after it, I thought, what can I do? I can't go chop down trees and help people remove, chunks of their houses from the streets. And I realized, well, I can work with people opening their Akashic records to bring meaning in their lives and to them about why were we all here now? What does the meaning of it? And that broadened as I've done Akashic readings for people during this time to beautiful messages coming from the divine realm itself about the meaning of upheaval. We call them disasters. They're called that. They're upheavals. And what does an upheaval do? What does it mean? And as that began to uh, sort of grow, the messaging, I was sort of received a download about it being a book. And so there's this book forming itself right now as we speak, on the different themes and the different messages that are being revealed through people themselves, through their own Akashic records as we open them together. Amazing. It's just amazing because the Akashic records, just as a reminder, is this ethereal realm where the spiritual imprint of our soul's journeys, lifetime after lifetime, exist. And so and the Akashic records have been around for eons, since the beginning of time. So when we access our Akashic records, we're actually accessing that divine, our higher self, the divine aspect of ourself. And we can then connect back up with who we are, why we're here on this planet at this time. We also can receive information from past lives because we know energy never dies and our DNA is energy. So every past life we've ever lived contains the energy of that lifetime, what we've spoken, how we've lived, what kinds of assets and gifts that we have from past lifetimes. And we can tap right into that and bring it forward. So it's a very powerful time right now. It's a painful time and a confusing time for so many, politically, globally, right? We got the Middle
Hmm.
East. There's so much happening right now. Um, the main thing I can say is that love is ruling. Love is ruling
Hmm.
because what's happening, what I have been immersed in just here in this community in Asheville through Helene, which is still going on. It's a disaster area, it really is this outpouring of love among people who live here.
Hmm.
It's forget about the government's aspects of the government coming in to help. It almost, I don't want to say it wouldn't matter, but the power of people in situations like this is unbelievable.
Hmm.
It's unbelievable. So that's what I've been involved in. And I know that that's why I was brought to Asheville because I wasn't born and raised here. I came here thinking I was coming here for my father-in-law who was dying, and he passed away 2 days before the hurricane hit. And I realized, okay, is that mission accomplished that I came here for that to support the family? No, it's this, what's happening right now, right? Because light workers and people who do the work that we do, Temple, very much needed right now, just to mirror to people the love that they are. That's really what this is,
Mhm.
right?
And
So,
I think you make a key point too, because like myself, being here currently in California,
mhm,
I'm not able, like you, like when Katrina hit in New Orleans, my wife and I bought a truck, uh, put it in the neighborhood, loaded it up with anything we could think of that people would need, and sent it and gifted it to New Orleans folks, and so it was more doable. But many of you are going, I live too far, I'm nowhere near there, blah blah. Like you're saying, I think that's the key point. You can still, when you think of it, send love, send the vibration of love, send the vibration of rejuvenation, send the vibration of people being lifted up and new things coming, and supporting each other and things of that nature.
mhm,
And then
mhm.
you'll probably do what I usually do after I do all that, is I'll call Mary and get a reading. So she can read into the photo album of my soul and give me some insight. And I just want to say that to contact her, it's a divine realm at gmail.com.
Mm,
A
thank you.
divine realm at gmail.com. So, anyway, and one of the things that, and I've spoken to you, somewhat frequently
Mhm,
since all this has occurred. And we get these, and it's about everything. I get that. But there's a lot of confusing messages and going on, or that we're informed 24/7 about. And I heard you say this is a real disaster area. And I think sometimes in our humanity, even though we mean well, we hear one message that goes, oh, things are doing better now. And we go, okay, I can move on to the next thing. And I remember that in Katrina, because so much of our family lived there. And
mhm,
they would get a call like from somebody they went to college with, and they'd say, I don't understand. Why don't you just go to Target? Um, there isn't one. Well, I don't understand. Why don't you just go there and buy what you need? That's all gone. Well, I don't
mhm.
understand. Why don't you just do that? Quit judging us. There's no roads. So I would love
Yes.
to hear your reframe on things like that, because I don't think people at large really get it. And I don't mean that to insult anybody. I just mean, unless you live there, you don't understand.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
It's so true. I lived also through Hurricane Sandy in New York.
Mm,
And I am lucky and blessed that our home was okay. We're
mm,
in a rental and I'm in Black Mountain and it was okay. But what's interesting is if you just drive the trees are gorgeous. They're changing color as North Carolina, can be proud of. It's gorgeous, right? Because they removed the trees pretty much from the highway so they could open the highways. If you get off any exit, off of two of the big highways here, your mouth will drop because it's bizarre. The word is bizarre,
mhm,
and there is a disaster energy, and it is not being made up. So
mm.
what's going on right now is, I mean, rivers overflowed. I mean, this place is loaded with rivers and streams. It's beauty, right? Um, all rivers overflowed. They measured the trillions of gallons of water that came down from the sky during the hurricane, trillions. And when you read the numbers and what they compared it to, how many, like 180,000 Niagara Falls, it's just crazy stuff.
Wow.
It's an eye opener. And when you look at the water damage made homes, I mean, right in our back, not our literally our backyard, but my wife went to walk our dog just the other day to a little path that's not far from our house. And she came back and said, "We can't stay here." And I went, "What happened?" You know what? She took video of it. It was demolished and no one was in there helping bring the trees away from
Mm.
and our a mobile park. And then the River Arts District here, where all the art is, it's the center of art in Asheville. It looks like a bomb hit it. And the
Wow.
river overflowed, the main river, the Broad River, French Broad River, it's known as, it overflowed. And what has happened, what's happening now is the debris and the toxins and chemicals that were tossed about into the rivers and streams and and reservoirs, um, it has to be cleaned up. Also, the water sources were destroyed. I mean, the infrastructure just fell apart. And so I don't know what news is saying outside of here. I know 60, I heard 60 Minutes did a a story. I don't know, somebody
Mhm.
said they saw their truck come in for like 5 minutes to one area, shoot some stuff, and they left. I don't know. I mean, I used to work for CBS News,
I
and I know
know.
how they news gather.
Hmm.
But when you're in it and you're talking to people and you're reading the Facebook groups of people who are living here helping each other, like it's different. It's really different. It doesn't matter that there's no rain coming down and no winds right now. We now have a serious health problem in this entire area.
Mm.
And it's in the form of toxins that have now uh, have gone into the ground and are now dried up and blowing into the air, particulates. Because what happened was the sewage plant on the Broad River, that was released sewage during the storm.
Oh,
And then
God.
the river overflowed, so now that went everywhere. And so the authorities, and I'm going to say it here, I think people have to hear this. The authorities, which we've been following closely, have been telling everyone, well, we got the water flowing to certain areas already. We have water flowing. And they said, boil the water and you can use it. Well, they haven't tested the water yet. And they're saying that we haven't tested it yet. But
Oh,
we
wow.
know that if you boil the water, the pathogens will, if they're in there, will leave and bacteria will be gone. But what about all the toxins? I mean, the insides of homes were thrashed out and flowing everywhere.
Mm.
Homes have appliances, chemicals. What
Mm.
about all the cars that were floating and turned upside down? We're talking a lot. We're not talking about a couple. They
Gasoline,
have
oil.
gasoline,
We're also
oil, right?
talking about, unfortunately, we're talking about livestock bodies, animals,
Yes, yes.
people, all of
People,
that.
bodies floating. And then, there have been stories that, oh no, there weren't bodies flowing down the river, but we know the workers, the first responders were standing on whatever bridges were left with a raging river underneath, and they were trying to catch the bodies
Of
that were
course. Yeah.
that were being that were being killed, or they were
Mhm.
dead already. We don't know, but that's coming from inside.
Right.
So I don't mean to do doom and gloom,
No, it's
but that's what
reality. It's
it's the
reality.
reality, and it is in the form of it. It's called a disaster for a reason.
Hmm.
What I am happy to say is that there's such an amazing, powerful meaning for all of us that find ourselves in disasters or are hearing about it and feeling helpless or overwhelmed by the idea that something like this could happen, right?
Hmm.
Because the messages coming from divine are beautiful messages. They're about Gaia herself, Gaia, which is divinity, swirling, in a sense, this area to open up portals of wisdom from underneath here, our indigenous, the things that happened in this area eons ago. Apparently, this whole area is Atlantis. And I didn't even know that before I came
Hmm.
here. So we have these portals, right? Plus the upheaval creates it's like a wake up call for people to look at something in themselves. It's not a bad thing. It's never a bad thing. It's I'm not going to say it's a gift because it doesn't feel like a gift when you're in it, but there's something very profound about it. And I'm taking people who are coming for readings at this time through the meaning of this journey and why they were here, to helping them use the journey itself or use the event itself as a means to help them remember why they're here.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had people come to readings and say, I don't get it. And then when we talk in the records, in their own records, they're finding out not that there's a reason they were here, but they find out and are reminded of their own assets and power.
Mm-hmm.
Then they know what to do next, which it
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have happened if they were not here. Right.
And that's a, a profound statement, because if I may, I mean, I didn't ask you this because we're not scripted and we wouldn't want to be. But
Mm,
that being said, me being originally, growing up in the Carolinas, lots of time in North Carolina, Georgia. I mean, I've always been on fire for life. So I didn't stay in one area long. People would say, what part of South Carolina have you been to? And I'm, 15 and a half. And I'd go, all of them. It's just all there is. And then in
yeah.
Atlanta and Alpharetta and here and there and, all that. And I recall, and just this point is that when you were going, you and Christine were going to support your father-in-law and her dad. And we talked about, so many areas where you could live. The Carolinas, including Clemson and Anderson and Belton and Honeypath and all that. And it is fascinating on a deeper level of the work that you do, including, a background of news and television. And
Hmm.
then that of all places you chose, and it chose you, apparently, Black Mountain, for you to be
Yes.
there, to be immense support. I mean, that is fascinating, because I was part of the photo album of Do We Move There? What do you think about that? What about that area? And here you are. I'm glad you're there. I'm glad you're both there.
Yes, well, I was okay, so I'm from New York, born in New York City, and then my television career brought me out to the West Coast. So then I was out in on the West Coast for 20 years, and when Christine's father became ill, I knew right away, my heart showed me we need to be near them to support
Mhm,
them through this. So but I have to say, I came internally kicking and screaming. I did not
mhm,
want to move. Things were happening for me in California. And so but my heart, that we have to listen to our hearts. I'm an
mhm.
example of
We
this.
have to
So
listen to our hearts, because all of
yes,
us are dearest friends. And you were so excited about us coming here. We barely had settled. It's like,
I
we're out
know.
of here.
You came and then we left. And so I thought I was coming to support my father-in-law and her
And you
family,
did.
which is
And
my
you did.
family.
Yeah.
But that's not why I came here. And I remembered saying to Christine when her father passed away 2 days before the hurricane, um, I guess our mission's accomplished. And then I literally got the download. Oh no, 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 no.
Hmm.
And now I know why I'm here, because this book is pouring out of me at lightning speed as I'm doing more and more readings with people who were brought here. So the
Hmm.
big message is that there's no such thing as random. We think things are random. No such thing. Divine shows us and tells us, or at least me constantly, there's no such thing as random. And, we've learned that. It's a learned concept. No. So it's hard to accept that when somebody's all of a sudden thrust into a situation like this, called this Hurricane Helene or Milton,
Hmm.
and there they are. And they're like, you mean there's a reason for this? And the answer is yes, yes, yes. We're always where we're supposed to be all the time.
Hmm.
And so I had to make meaning out of this for myself as well. I'm still doing that. And I realized it's this the book that's coming. I'm Temple. I've been taking time with the first book on the Akashic Records, and it keeps not getting completed. And I've been beating myself up about it, as I'm sure a lot of you out there do when you're writing. And it's like, why isn't it going fast enough or creating something? And I kept beating myself up about it. And then I see this happening. This is flowing so fast that this is going to be the book that comes out because of
Wow.
the experiences that everyone is sharing
Mm-hmm.
and they're doing with the same experience,
Mm-hmm.
and how it always, that being here and being in what we call this disaster is informing each person um, more in a more fuller, profound way, informing them who they are and why they're here on the earth right now. Not even while they're in, why are you in Asheville? The event is showing each person why they're here on the planet. That's pretty trippy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, and same for me. I
Yeah.
already know there's going to be workshops coming out of this. And so I realized it. I was like, okay. And it was just a download. It was like something I got one morning and I heard it was like a whisper from Divine. Okay, you need to start doing readings for people and literally that are related to this and in it because you're in it now. And it's not over yet because this is a major rebuild.
Yeah.
And um, there are still people trapped, and there's still people, many people who have no home. And it's starting to look like maybe army is pulling out. I mean, it also there's a lot of army here, and I'm not quite sure why.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. We're hearing different things. There's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of conspiracy theories going on out there too, and I try to have a healthy radar about that. Not to beat anyone up or any organization. Um, we we reached out to FEMA for help, and we were looking for temporary housing. And because our house itself, the structure wasn't harmed, we're not getting the support that we need. But we have no healthy water.
Right.
We can't shower in this water. The water's discolored. So, that's not, you can't live that way.
It
But
amazes me that a lot of times people don't realize, and I think I got more and more educated because my wife sells water systems of all
yes,
different kinds, from the mid-range of $350, $400 to $350,000 of Aphora water. And it amazes me that often people don't realize that your skin is the number one gateway to everything in your body. So
number one,
you can be
fastest
picky,
uptake.
right? You can be picky about, oh, I don't want to eat this, or I don't eat sugar, or I don't do that. But when you shower, when you take a bath, when you're bringing in water into your skin, it is the quickest way. It's just there. And
It is the fastest uptake. It's faster than intravenous.
yeah,
And
it
that's,
really
I mean,
is. It
yeah, I
really
mean,
is. So everybody let people know and to be aware it is a big deal, and to get the knowledge and to educate. And Mary, as you know, I mean, obviously, well, I don't know if it's obviously, but in the Carolinas too, people were greatly affected. But I would say, I think it's safe to say, um, all of you are welcome to leave comments and correct me if you see a different perspective. But mostly, it's North Carolina and Florida. And
yes.
Florida, the beaches were my beaches for 30 years, and places that I lived, and the home I lived in, and all of that, and up and down the coast. And there are places where there's signs in the front yard that say, please just buy my house, even though it can't be lived in. They don't have insurance. Just please buy it. Because everything, cars, I mean, families with 2 and 3 cars, all their cars are totaled. And
Hmm.
it's like massive. It's really, and I can understand on one level why people aren't seeming together, right now. It's like in the first beginnings of COVID, because you're anesthetized. You're
Yeah.
so in shock because to be able to conceptualize all of this in one grasp. I mean, the entire coast of Florida and the Bay of Tampa, as far as you can see both ways, sand. I mean, sand is like covers cars and it's still there. I mean, and the debris, they don't even have anywhere to put it. And so a lot of
Right.
homeless, it's
And
just massive.
if you and I were to step right into that area, I would not be surprised if we would see such a solving of problems on a
Yeah.
one street, on a one house, on a one person
Yeah.
level, one at a time, by the people that are there.
Right.
That's what these events are showing us, I think. This has nothing to do with the records. This is my perspective now. They're showing us that systems that have been created to protect us
Right.
may be breaking apart.
Yeah.
And people are knowing that now. They're seeing the truth. Because even me with FEMA, I'm going, what? You can't give me temporary housing so I can move from
Right.
here? No, the FEMA guy, not if actually they outsource. I didn't know this. When FEMA shows up, they had to come to our house. You think it's FEMA, it's not. They're outsourcing to third party
Mm-hmm.
organizations that
Mm-hmm.
go out and then check things and check off the list. And the guy was trying really hard to find some little spot in the house that might have been affected so he could get us help.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, wait a minute. Like what? So what's happening? And I'm noticing being in it, people, the power of people. That's an old term, the power of people. Oh
Right.
my God. There's a concert, by the way, that's happening out of Charlotte. Concert for, I don't know what the name of it is, but it's for North Carolina. And it's growing in the artists who are going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And they're raising money and it's going to go right back into into rebuilding North Carolina, Western North Carolina. And James Taylor is on the list, and I'm sure they have more
Mm-hmm.
amazing artists. And they're offering it will be streamed, and they're offering it's like $24 for tickets, but anyone living in the areas that were hit, when they go to sign up, it's free. That's
Mm.
beautiful.
That is.
Yeah,
That's extremely beautiful.
that's
There's
people.
such a
People are doing
dichotomy
that.
now, right? It's like I hear a lot of people say, well, in voting for people, I want to know I can be safe. And yet, well, if you want to be safe, it's not for the imaginary. Okay, it's more about if you believe in safety to me. But this is my show, so I'm going to talk about my opinion. You can
Yeah.
have the biggest wall in the world. And if you don't support climate change, because these things, they will be continuing, and it's
Yes.
just fact. So if you want to be safe, and that's your go-to or your driven factor, you need to think about being safe in all of our surroundings is about owning climate change and looking at what are some of the things that you can do today, tomorrow, next week, because it's real.
Oh,
So
it's very
if
real.
you're
It was
voting for
predicted.
people that don't believe in climate change, I'm sorry.
No,
I
we're in
can't
it.
wrap my head around that.
Not even any to me, it's not even anything to believe in anymore. It just
Right.
it's in it.
Yeah.
And another thing I want to say, since we're on the topic of water and healthy war, clean water. So Christine and I have been really researching the entire country.
Hmm.
It's another role that we've got here on water. So there are toxins. There's no state or city or state in the United States with water that doesn't contain toxins.
Right.
Doesn't exist.
And plastic. Little
Doesn't
kids
exist.
that they measure now have particles of plastic all in their system.
Yes, that's a fact
Mhm.
too.
That's
So
a
here's
fact.
another thing
Yeah.
that concerns me. I actually recently found out and heard, I should say, that the water filtration, like the only thing that can help with toxins in water is like a 5-stage RO, reverse osmosis. I'm sure
Hmm.
Barbara, this is
That's
her
their thing.
her
Yeah.
world, right?
Yeah.
However, if you look at this, only wealthy people can afford
Mhm.
that.
That's
If you
right.
want it in your house, which is what you have to do because you're washing in it, you're bathing in it, washing in it, you're washing your dishes in it, you're drinking it, whatever. So it's not merely having it only in the water that comes out of your sink or
No,
only on a shower head, which is
that's
less
right.
expensive. We need the full out systems to our
Hmm.
homes in order to have safety. And only wealthy people can. So what is that saying about where we're going as a country, at least this country?
Right.
What is that saying? And I'm hearing that very wealthy people who own corporations, CEOs, people that are Hollywood people, they have that.
Hmm.
And then the people you just described with the sand over their cars and they have no homes, whatever, they can't afford that. So, how do
No.
we make that affordable for everyone? Because that's our right. We all have the right to live in safety. It's even in the
Hmm.
Constitution.
Yeah.
So this is we have to flip that somehow. And I think
Right.
people rising up together is going to do it
Yeah. I join you in that.
and
I think
saying
that's
no.
a beautiful outpicturing. Yeah.
Hmm.
Enough is enough. And we've been out of proportion for a long time,
We
of
have,
that wealth is the only answer. And ultimately, the deeper part is health is the greatest wealth. I mean, at the end of the day,
yes,
cancer doesn't care if you're a billionaire, multimillionaire, have more money than you could ever spend. It doesn't care. It doesn't not pick you, you know,
right.
and or heart issues or all those kind of things. Um, and I think that a lot of times people will dismiss the lesson because they look at the victim of something, and that's very important. There's no way, there's no words to say, how we feel about the lives lost and homes and what people are going through, and there aren't any words. But I also felt that way in 9/11. There weren't words, and but yet nobody would let you finish sentences because they were going, what do you mean it was just awful and we were invaded upon, and we have enemies now and they're out to get us, and let's get a bigger gun because they're out to get us. I'm not putting energy there. But I mean, when you're a metaphysical person, you look for, and then what is another lesson that I can take from this?
Hmm.
And to me, the lesson was that we were way out of sync as a society in focusing on accomplishment and the ladder of success. It was like a wake up call, right?
And nine
Um,
11 was
right.
one of the grandest divine, it was the grandest designs of divine love,
Hmm.
global
Yeah.
love, because
Yep.
the entire world came together,
Yes.
whether it's a second or 5 minutes. I mean,
Yeah,
that's metaphorical, but the world came together.
it
Now,
did.
what I'm being shown from divine through my own record readings and what I get is that this idea that we need the contrast and we need the 9/11s in order to get the love and feel the love. We need the disasters in order to get back to love. That's the old paradigm.
Hmm.
Nova Earth,
Right.
the that won't be needed. Wars are need. We hear war is needed because it's the shadow in order to see the light.
No,
That's not
no.
what I'm getting from divine. I'm getting messages that actually annoy people sometimes because they're like, don't tell me that. We need this to get to that. And
Right,
it's like,
right,
no, no, there only is love.
right.
That's it. There's only love. And that
Mm.
involves compassion, patience, love, all the good, juicy things that go with love. And we don't have to have, and I think that's why Gaia herself is shaking things up a little bit in not tornadoes and hurricanes and floods all around the world and volcanoes, things like that that are happening. Is she angry? And I've heard that too. No, she's
Yeah.
not angry. Gaia is always going to be fine. I keep hearing that. Humanity may not be. And a
Right.
lot of our ascended masters speak this, like Dr. Bruce Lipton talks about it, Greg Braden talks about it, Eckhart Tolle kind of dances around this, that we need to make some major moves right now, or there will not be a humanity. It
Right.
has been said that we're entering the potential mass sixth extinction. And if Greg Braden has talked about this, and if we continue in this way, uh, we will humanity end? Well, yes, on some
Mhm.
level, and it may be ending now on a certain level.
Yeah.
Look at all the
As we
people that
know
are,
it. Yeah.
yeah.
As
Look at all
we
the
as
people that are
we've known it. Yeah.
yeah,
And all the
the
people that are
transitions.
transitioning now, they're jumping off.
They're jumping off.
And the other thing about it is, and that's the part too, that this deep dive, or deep soul visit, you and I were talking about that. I feel like that's what California has offered me, just being stripped down and just deep, deep exploration. How do I feel? Do I still feel that way? What's going on? But I find that with some of these people with microphones, there's such an incongruency with messages because many of them come from the base that the creator or Gaia, God, whatever, has no personality, doesn't have
Yeah,
feelings, but then they go, God, then they bring out, they're metaphysical people and they're known in the field as spiritual gurus, and they go, Mother Earth is so angry right now. And you're like, that's because you're angry. You're
that's
angry. Like, and I think we always need
that's
to
right.
remember that with our common sense, which is a whole new art that you and I are going to do a TV show on one day, because I
Oh,
don't
we
know what
will.
happened to common sense. But, common sense is that if you are representing the divine, it isn't. I mean, can you imagine if the divine all along had feelings of anger? I don't know a lot of people and experiences that would still be around. Are you
It's
kidding
not
me?
possible. But
It's
you know
not
what?
possible. You don't
Um,
get to have it both ways.
that's
So
right.
if you live by a Gaia that
Hmm.
is just is, okay,
Hmm.
then all this other stuff is just your own inner projection. And
Yes, it is. And
it's
fear.
and
Hmm.
fear, and then it hooks other people to feel projected upon and their own fear. And you can tell any lie long enough, and non-thinking people are practicing will believe it, and they
That's right.
will fight for it as if it's true.
Oh, yeah, they will. And then
You
join
know?
groups about it to keep
Yep.
it true.
Yeah.
Well, there's it's almost like the curtains coming up. And
Yeah.
that's what these upheavals do. And I'll give you an example, and I'm going to name an organization because most people wouldn't, but the veils are coming up now.
Right.
So, my sister-in-law, who's gay, drove up, was bringing up supplies from South Carolina. She had a truckload of what do you call it, for electricity generators. And
Yeah.
so she went to a large organization that was helping, that has been helping, called, they're named Samaritan's Purse. They're huge.
Hmm.
And she was trying to deliver them. And generators are still needed. There's still people without power in places. They turned her away because she's gay.
What?
Yes. They would not take the supplies.
Well, how did they know she was gay? Her hair color?
Well, that's like, did she show up and say, I am? I think sometimes the handwriting's on the wall. I'll just say that. I
Yeah.
mean,
Whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh
But
my
that was why.
God.
She
And
told me
they
that.
would
That was,
turn down generators that could mean a family doesn't have food for weeks, or because
or
of
could die, or
somebody
get
might
sick.
go on a date with. And what was the name of the place? Let's be sure and say it real loud.
Samaritan's Purse.
Samaritan's Purse. Well, shame
Yeah.
on you. You might want to revisit your name. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I know. That's right. So the
Right? You
other
might
thing,
want to do a rebrand. We know somebody in New York you could call Elsie Moss.
no, you don't want to rebrand. Change what you're doing and change that belief system.
Of course.
And that's what's going on too, because, this area is chock full of, as you know, you grew up around here, chock full of churches,
Hello. From every
multi-denominations.
block and every corner.
And
And
so the churches have been stepping up, really stepping up to the plate amazingly. I also had heard that some of the churches who were bringing supplies and you could come to the church and get supplies, but that some of them were, I always get this word wrong, proselytizing. Did I get it right?
yeah, it's too
Proselytizing.
long of a word for me. I stick with 3 syllables.
Yeah, that was five.
That's too long. I mean,
Well,
I'm bilingual, English and Southern. I'm just going to stick with three
yeah,
syllables.
like
Yeah.
bringing people into their flock, so to speak. That's like
Proselytizing.
that's not okay.
Proselytizing.
What does it say it again?
Proselytizing.
Okay, that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
like you can have the help and
Mhm.
we need to tell you that, whatever, you need to join
Right.
it. Whoa,
Right.
whoa. Organized religions have, and we have to say this, we have to talk about this more, Temple, that organized religions who they all began with, I really believe, goodness in mind. I really believe they all began that way. And I grew up Catholic. But
Hmm.
there were things about it when I was little, I was like, huh? I just
Yeah.
was like a kid going, what? There's this God who creates us in when I was little, it was him,
Right. Yeah.
in his image, but then we come in with the sin. Why would a God that is of love create a humanity with sin? It just, none of it made sense. Well, we
Mm-mm.
have these religions that put the bearded man in the clouds, and that's the all powerful that's going to strike you down if you do this or that, or you're gay, or you drink too much, or whatever, all this judgment. I don't get it. And I think that's turning upside down right now.
Yep.
And hopefully spirituality itself, and in the broadest way that it can be shared, will bring them off the pedestals and the podiums, the pulpits,
Hmm.
bring them off the pulpits, bring them down, because that isn't what Christ did. Christ consciousness, Christ did lifted people off their knees, face to face. You are me, I am you, we are source.
Right.
That's now I'm proselytizing.
And we know how to say it. Oh my gosh, you and I could just go on for days and days, and
And we're going to
yeah.
keep doing this,
And we are
Temple.
going to keep doing this, and we are moving into a time that we will be doing our own show at some point, and
And
that's a given. You can count on that.
oh,
Um,
well, I that's a commitment. And celebrating each and every act of kindness and love and compassion that's happening where there it's behind the scenes right now
yeah,
because it's not being shown.
no, we don't
But
get to see
we're
that.
going to bring it out. We're going to bring it out
Yeah,
and up and celebrate it. And that's what we're going to do. Oprah did it.
that's
Oprah
right.
did it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's what we're going to do. Uh-huh.
Hmm.
That's what we're talking about. Yeah,
Now,
get
listen,
ready.
I hope I don't get a nasty email from Samaritan's Purse.
Well, I hope you do because that means somebody heard it. But I mean, come on. I mean, there are just a lot of organizations that they need to revisit their name because you're supposed to live into hallowed be thy name. You're supposed to live into your name. That's your number one. This is who I am. And it's like, come on, it's this is a show that, sponsors aren't going to cancel us because I'm not going to cancel myself and you're not going to cancel myself and yourself. So here we are. And this is more of what is needed of just putting things out there. So what I'm going to know is you're going to get emails from people that want to really visit the photo album of their soul. And they want to look at windows and how to shift and rejuvenate and bring that soul retrieval capacity into their lives. That's what
Yes.
you're for. That's the work I do. But specializing with the Akashic Records is that you can email Mary at a divine realm at gmail.com. And I can tell you that I've been using her for many years and can't say enough about it. So these are tools. We all need tools. And
We
wherever
do.
you are, it doesn't matter how many followers you have, how many friends, how many platforms you've been on, how you're known. We all benefit from the expansion of allowing other people to look at the photo album of our soul and share with us this incredible possibility that we call life, that we are forever emerging and being born into. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Thank you.
Please share this show with anybody that's listening. And God bless you in this amazing journey we call life. Thank you for being with us today. We are
So
so
it is.
grateful. Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.